Muchas gracias Alejandro.
Thank you very much.
Buenos días a todos. La verdad que para mí es un gran placer ser el
It is a pleasure to be the chair in this panel and try to solve the challenges that we face in the Spanish market. Before we introduce the guests here today, I'd like to tell a few words about Alfredo Aran, who was originally the one who was going to chair the panel, but as we said on Wednesday, due to health problems, he won't be able to be with us today. But he's very close to us, he's following this, and he wants to know how everything goes. So it's just like having him here with us. We have a very special edition in this seminar. It's 25th. So we have three of the biggest competitors in Spain. We have Allianz and Generali and Zurich.
Mapfre representamos una cuota de mercado cercana al 40%, en torno al 40%, que es bastante representativa de lo que es.
The four of us entails 40% of this market share in Spain in global risks. So the opinions of these members of the competition are very important on what the market is feeling about the things that are happening in the market. I'm going to carry out a short presentation of the guests. On my right, I have Mr. Negro from Allianz. He has been in charge of this company since January. He's been working in the sector for more than 20 years in big companies in the sector. I have also Beatriz Valenti, who was appointed Director of Commercial Insurance Spain by Zurich. She came into Zurich in 2002 and she's been in several departments, such as commercial, etc. She went to London in 2013 and she is appointed the Director for Spain in February 2017. Then on my left, Carlos Gómez, Director of Generali. He joined Banco Vitalicio in 1993, then acquired by Generali. Carlos has always been in charge of technical issues, and in 2013 he was in charge of the global project of Generali in Spain. As I said earlier, the time allocated for this panel is short. The English speakers have got 5 minutes of our time, so please try to be short so that we can have some questions at the end. I would like to start opening the discussion now, and following the order that we had available, I would like to mention something that we, of course, have to talk about, which is the situation in the UK. The change that happens between the supposedly absolute majority that she was going to get, and now there's a situation of uncertainty related to Brexit. So, what do you think is the impact, or do you think there's going to be any impact regarding the Spanish market because of the Brexit itself? Obviously, this brings more uncertainty. Maybe they have to get an agreement with Liberal Democrats. They ask for a second referendum. There is plenty of uncertainty, more than there was. So we all know that obviously there's going to be an impact in the market. This is the impact that we have to see, if it's going to be huge or not. Let's see. Lloyd's has to reinvent itself regarding these collaborations, etc. I think there are two points of view. How are we going to serve our customers in this new situation, incorporating consolidation, etc.? From the point of view of service, at a local level, those who have an office there will have a local service, and we have to see how it affects two companies having presence there, and how do you cover the risks that you have there. This is the biggest uncertainty that we have to face with this process. In the case of Zurich, in this new context, and speaking about the solvency, the capacity in the market, do you have anything to comment? Yes, Brexit, or just after the elections, because apparently it was going to be a hard Brexit, but now Brexit is not going to be so hard. Zurich is used to working outside the EU because we're Swiss. There are services like engineering and expertise, etc., that have to be hired from England. So let's see what happens. I lived 4 years there. The day of the vote, I was there, and when Brexit took place, it was a sad day. It was a terribly sad day in London. The vote was won outside London, of course, but it was a sad day in London. Brexit does not help the city, does not help to position the city as strongly as it was. Will it still be the city of London as it was? Well, probably yes. Well, there's a chance of positioning Madrid with a hub, which is already with LATAM, but there could be options to improve, of course. And regarding the English market, Zurich will work with England as another more country, and we will still grow. So let's see what happens. From the vision of Generali, do you think there could be some problem with the programs that the UK is going to have internationally? Yes, the brief answer for Brexit is, of course, yes. And there is an uncertainty that we have to work with and look for future scenarios. How is this impact going to be? As our colleagues say, we see that operatively we're going to give solutions, we're going to have a better opportunity, we're going to have a further professional reply, but we have to check whether we're going to invest more capital. We have to see regulatory environments and fiscal environments with plenty of uncertainty that are going to produce some kind of difference between the current and the future situation. So we don't see anything different here from what we see today. It is a very interesting vision. We have to connect with the following topic on the panel. In the opening words by the President, Ignacio Baeza, it was already mentioned. Related to the quality of service, it is this relevance provided to compliance, efficiency, quality of service in the international programs. We are present in a scenario in which regulators increasingly impose harder conditions of control of reporting. We increasingly have more people devoted to the preparation of reports and consultations, etc. This introduces adequate variables and the master's programs, etc. What is your opinion regarding this? There are two elements. The world is more global, is easier to handle from a specific part. The CEO by Google gave a talk the other day, and if we compare with Google, we're light years away from them, but it is a more regulated, more compliant sector. So this is an excuse for you to change it. There are many regulated worlds, and maybe we have to agree and work together. When you speak about 240 countries, in each country there are states. In these states there are 40 lines, etc. Maybe you apply one tax and the other one has a different taxing system, etc. It's very complex. So as an insurance company, it is complex to attack. So we try to share it, we try to use modern tools so that it becomes as agile as possible. But we always face two different regulators and legislations, etc. The world is complex, so how can we come closer to Google? Maybe that's one way. The world becomes increasingly more complex. The protection of what is understood as the weakest part of the business bring these preoccupations. Yes, indeed, you are right. Technology, immediacy, digital elements. The world is very small now, and it's very complex at the same time. So this complexity is a challenge, because we have to look for excellence in service to our customers and brokers. But compliance has become extremely relevant, international compliance. So we have to make the most of this opportunity, and as we have to be as efficient as possible with international program.
Todo lo que es la gestión del programa internacional. Si hacemos una retrospectiva breve de 5 años, el cambio es
If we look back 5 years, the change is enormous, and it is a very thrilling challenge.
Poco que añadir en ese sentido.
There's not a lot to add in this sense. The regulatory changes are having a lot of influence. The challenge here is try not to take this complexity to the customer, working internally to create a series of structures in which complexity is not taken to the customer. We need increasingly more information. Sometimes it's a matter of educating and communicating the complexity. Our property coverage has to be given by ERC, and the customer didn't understand it, but it has to be done like that. Sometimes we don't communicate what happens correctly, and there are a series of divergences. The challenge is not to send this complexity to the customer, and this becomes increasingly more difficult. We need more resources when we work with international programs in this regard. Can you hear me now? Yes, the product has not to be understood, doesn't have to be understood in the same way in every country. Maybe what we believe as ERC in other countries is a different thing. Because of the legislation, etc. Yes, when we speak about mirror policies, these mirror policies are demanded, but sometimes it's not possible. And this is something that we have to tell the customer.
Aprovecho y te pregunto, esa dificultad y esas complejidades que nos encontramos en trasladar eso.
This difficulty and this complexity has to do with the regulatory environment, and would this take to a reduction of coverage, strictly speaking? No, it shouldn't. I don't think that bigger regulation imposes more coverage unless this prohibits coverage. On the other way around, it is actually a challenge to find solutions.
No lo vemos, lo que vemos es que sí que esa complejidad, pues tenemos que ser capaces de adaptarnos.
No, not at all. We have to be adapted to the situation.
El tema de información, lo más relevante que se está viviendo es que la capa.
The most relevant thing we're living now is that the ability of information is enormous, and this has grown in the last few years, and it has a very positive repercussion in the way we understand the programs, etc., and to enable the best solution available. Something that is more adjusted to the reality of the customer. So, in this situation, for instance, as insurers, how should we face this challenge internationally? Well, complexity, extra regulation in the future, you mean? Yes. Well, the management, when a program is implemented, what we have to try and achieve is to have tools that are there for everyone, providing information on what taxes are paid in one country or another, what is feasible and what's not. The management of our program is increasingly more online. You can download the policy issued in Mexico. You can download it because of this tax that you pay, etc. So it has to be more flexible. It has to be me. I don't know, maybe it's my problem. Can you hear me all right? Yes, I can hear now. The transparency, taking part with the legislator when there is a lot of regulation, or how we explain. Sometimes they want to cover things that are very complex to cover. And as insurers, we have to talk to the governments, we have to understand the legislation of each country, and we have to fulfill what is required. This fulfillment and this compliance has to be as feasible as possible. Well, we have to be adapted to the situation. We have to realize the uncertainty and the situation. We have to have teams that are ready and willing to work, disciplined, international networks and platforms that allow us to have metrics that enable us to provide this excellence service that the market requires. The network is essential. The coordination of each country, the networks with the country that originates the program, is crucial. And anticipating to the regulatory elements that may take place in every country. If these changes are not carried out in advance, then it will affect the whole program and will make it more difficult. We have to increase the investment in the networks, the coordination of platforms that may evolve and facilitate the introduction of programs. To me, this is the future, working with interactive platforms so that the programs are more efficient and more transparent. Within this context, what is the solution that you see for this? What is the least bad solution? How do we find a solution for this? If there is any, of course. This is the $1 million question. We must try and be efficient. These mirror policies, for instance. It would be great to have mirror policies in every country, but from our point of view, we should try and achieve this situation in which it enables us to have that. If we manage to have a master policy, this reduces the uncertainty of the customer with regard to a certain event. But it is true that this has limitations, so you have to work in coordination with your country to reach this level of terms and conditions that is adequate for this service. It is true that probably in the short term it is a bit more expensive not to have a different type of format when offering this to the countries, but in the medium term, when the claim comes, then this is the adequate solution. International programs have a price, of course, and you have to issue a local policy, you have a local premium being paid in the country, and if you have to compensate the company or the third party, then you can do it in this country. And there is a fulfillment of the regulation of the country itself. Obviously, it would be perfect to be able to issue a policy in Spain and we cover the world, and whatever happens in the world we'll pay, and we'll give the check to whoever needs it to pay for the claim. But this is not the case. It cannot be. So, in the management of the program, it has to be as easy and transparent as possible, providing the biggest amount of information possible. We have a network of more than 200 lawyers that if tomorrow there will be a new tax in Kuala Lumpur on cars, it should be in the system, because otherwise it's very difficult to be updated. So this network maintenance, this information network has a cost. So there's obviously a difference in price. Yes, in Allianz, the system that we have is local policies as part of the master program. It is the only way to fulfill those requirements, the regulatory ones, and the ability to provide a local service, including tax elements as well. And then coordination, of course. A program in which the client and the broker have clearly in mind what the structures are, you know what you're issuing, you know what's the location of the risks, and you have it in local policies. This is the only one that we assess. It is the most efficient one, and the only one fulfilling all the legal requirements. You just mentioned the word efficiency. Lately, we talked about costs, regulatory environment. We spoke about interest rates. You mentioned the damned words, which is the soft market that nobody wants to produce. This has changed the margins in the market. We all have teams devoted to this in the definition of our own models, tons of papers presented to the regulators, plenty of people preparing to get these figures ready. How do you face this challenge when trying to give the adequate service to our customers, the challenge of efficiency? Well, of course, this is the big challenge. The big companies are a bit inefficient sometimes. moving the machinery is hard because there's a wealth complexity in this regulatory environment. The document that has to be signed and handed in, the brokerage, everything, the whole system is complex. So within the company, we have to win this efficiency. It is obvious that the fourth revolution is here. It's here now and has just started in the technology world. And technology and efficiency go hand in hand. We have invested in technology, yes, but we're still far away from what's going to come in the future. And this is going to have a direct impact in the programs, in the purchase of insurance. Everything is going to change, and it has just started. We're speaking about big data, but all this information is going to reach the world of insurance, and we're going to use it. And it is true that the companies work with plenty of information about claims, and all this information that historically the company has considered inside domestically, and we use the information to provide a premium. Yes, we provide a premium, but please share this information. Help us predict risks. There are risks that cannot be predicted, but there's a lot of risks that can be predicted. And technology has to help us. Of course, apart from being efficient, we have to share this information. We have to be more consulting companies than anything else. We have to provide consulting according to the training and know-how that we have. We use it domestically, internally in each company, but if we did share it, the management of risks would be improved. I moved from efficiency to something else, but it is connected. With the current situation, zero rate of interest, there's a shift in the financial crisis that took place in the years 2008, 2009. We saw, our economy saw that the trend of the economy was not correct, so we needed efficiency. And efficiency takes you to cutting costs, producing the same with less resources, and efficiency has to be along these lines. I do not understand efficiency as something that affects the service you're going to give a customer. It has to do with elements that affect the final customer. The efficiency has to be achieved by remodeling the internal processes. And we're going to see this in the short term, because these are needs that are going to be brought by our customers, and efficiency has to go along these lines, reducing costs, analyzing very well what the production costs are, and we have to offer more things with the resources that we do have. I know that this is muddy waters, but it's the way it goes. We have to be aware of that, and we have to face it. In time, sustainability is essential. So in this regard, our companies are a model of sustainability. We are efficient companies, but the challenge will be harder in the future. So Carlos, what do you think? We're very similar, yes. As you just said, and rightly said, low interest rate, zero interest rate, soft market, a change in the economic cycle. You know that we're an anti-cycle sector and industry. So when you start suffering is when the economic cycle changes, is when you have a hard time. So you have to generate the same service, the same added value with more efficient aspects. Since 2001 or 2008, I don't know, but this has changed a lot since then. And we are reinventing the wheel. We are trying to achieve higher degrees of productivity, and we want to achieve activities that provide value in the end to our customers. Besides, this comes in a moment when the insurance sector has proved that we are very healthy. We have achieved tremendous investments lately in this sector, and the reports that have been published show clearly that this is a solid market, that the market in Spain, the insurance market in Spain is quite solvent, and that there's no problem whatsoever.
That's an interesting reflection the insurance sector has received, and we spoke about it before. It has suffered a regulatory tsunami due to other sectors of the economy. In some way, the insurance sector, in general terms, has responded very well and has solved that situation quite well. But now again, returning to the efficiency issue, we went into with some models which bring up some question marks. If these are models which might help us to increase or improve efficiency. To give you an example, the English market, there the broker can be an issuer of insurance policies. Is that the right track? Well, anything has to be analyzed. One has to take into account cultural aspects and traditions of how things are done in different countries. I don't know if the English are more efficient. However, we have to also reflect over here, how do we work as companies, and I believe also how do we implement the technologies. Technologies help you to maintain cost, and it allows to increase efficiency also in training so efficiency in that sense. I don't know if that model adds more efficiency or not. Perhaps for the United Kingdom it's efficient. I don't know in the short term in Spain if that would be operational. And talking about efficiency, it is true, and you stated. I read an interesting article the other day. Many companies say we are going to transform ourselves. We have transformed ourselves. Well, the transformation has to be constant, and when this one is finished, the next one and the next one will arrive. So whoever doesn't transform every day will be left behind. So the English market, the broker issues, and that is quite curious. On one hand, we're talking about efficiency, and why not? If you are more efficient and we make more, we make more money and reduce cost, why not the broker? But on the other hand, to go with our paper files, and which says, well, I don't know if it's efficient to continue with our paper and take a walk through the office. I don't know, or if it's better to go with an iPad. Well, these are things that we were talking about in the prior table. One of the brokers was sitting down the prior table that the efficiency model in England, they were paying 6 figures and for people that were online in a queue to place their business. And he was asking if there should be some reflection. 2.86, 0.83, 0.25. It's a complication. I don't know. I really don't know what the English system is all about. Well, anyhow, it's true, the broker, not the English model, in general terms, he is on the same track on creating efficiency, increasing efficiency, optimizing processes. We are on the same line. And what it seems, what is not totally effective, is to repeat activities more than initiatives, to repeat actions into different information systems, in different formats, and incompatible. Obviously, it could be the English model, but it should be scrutinized. So, anyhow, we have to act, we have to offer perfect connectivity, and that way we are able to control all the activity generated through that broker system. There are other models, like the American one, with the Accord certificates and predefined formats, and accepted one. Could that be Could that be another dynamic to explore? And without losing the quality, perhaps in not all its capacity, but it is susceptible to find specific certificates which will allow to improve and optimize your contact with clients and brokers. Well, I'm going to leave now a word on the table, and I will say I will just leave it. What about with the reinsurance? We have talked about this is a recurrent model in the Spanish market for many years. I would even say not only the Spanish market, international market. In reality, to accept the way how we work in co-insurance or reinsurance is really prehistoric. Sometimes, when there are 5 things co-insurers or even more, is that the insurance policy is signed 2 months before the expiration date. That is something that all the market should try to improve. If the insurance policies, do they have to be taken in paper and then the co-insurer signs it and the broker? It's obviously something that has to improve. The question is how to improve well. And to create common platforms is quite complicated. Preparing the panel and look with the banks, with the checks of the past, with the countersigned and now checks, and now their platforms. I don't know if that is the view. However, technology will help. There are initiatives to create platforms through their information systems to be able to issue through that platform. But at the end of the day, we will have to prospect and to see what is the system, which is quite difficult. So how do we manage the co-insurance? We have to really take care among all of us what to do. It is very inefficient. It's a process. At the end of the day, what is co-insurance? We have insurances. Do you know a working committee has been activated to retake, to look for solutions, and from a legal point of view, as well from operational one. The relationship service client operator, so that the information comes on time with a well-structured information and with the relationship between those co-insurances, which should be much better structured than currently. So we should get a commitment out of this panel. So for the co-insurance. So at the end is what we're saying, to improve. This is where the imagination that we have to use of that, we have to find solutions, provide solutions. We have to look at our activity. With the risk that risk managers are concerned, we only do provide 25% of coverage. So we have to look at the market, and in spite of being a mature sector, we accompany our clients in the different markets, and we are not able yet to provide to really respond to all those needs. How do we face a challenge as an industry? Well, there's more and more new risks there, and the insurance is based on action, on history, on diagnostics, on prognostics. There are new there are new risks that appear where there's no possible projection, there's no precedent, no history, and that creates a certain uncertainty about the risk, and that has to be changed. And I return to the same thing: big data and all the information that we have has to help us to manage it in a different way and to be able to project it and to provide solutions. And, well, everybody is concerned about damages and to analyze the new risks, cyber risk, reputational risk, and many other risks, which will arrive the day after tomorrow. And perhaps we might think they won't arrive today, but we will be there to offer a tailored solution. So the operators have to change their modus operandi. So at the end, this traditional sector, if you could continue to stay traditional, you won't be able to assess cyber risk correctly. You might need a software expert, some of those freaky guys which has been a hacker or cyber pirate himself, and he might tell us what the risk is, because those that buy the risk, yes, they tell us about the cyber risk, but how do I quantify it? What is the risk? Perhaps we will have to look at profiles and within the insurance companies, because those are the new risks that for us, many of those risks are new. Well, yes. As Beatriz stated, yesterday during dinner, we were talking about how technology and the new processes are changing the corporate dynamics and the way production. At the end of the day, you're very close to the client so that you are able and capable of understanding the risk, and so that you are able to understand and to provide a solution in the future, or at least, if that is not possible, to anticipate the new trends. For me, the key is to understand the processes, how they are changing, and I believe standardization will be complex. The production process is very different. Our clients face different risk, and in any other way we won't be able to innovate. We have to evaluate the risk, and we establish perhaps 10 risks and there are 4 traditional risks left, and there are 6 new risks which have risen in the last 2-3 years. So I do believe that system to be able to anticipate or to due to our relationship with our clients is basic to precisely do that exactly. Yes. In reality, the sector is investing very much to have big data. The big data department helps you to understand the new rising risks and to try to develop those solutions. It's nevertheless true that possibly 25% of the insured correspond or reinsured are the risks that are related to the continuity of the business, but we have to be very receptive to the new changes. Accompany our clients is also accompany them, helping them manage those corporate risks, those business risks, listen to them, understand them, speak the language, and to look and search together with them for those new responses, for those new challenges. The challenges are so uncertain or so dynamic that what you believe is a risk that you might have understood might change from one day to the next. And I mean May 12th to when WannaCry, I believe all of us, it had an impact on us, and it changed our view on cyber risk. How do we face it? How do we understand it? Even our own clients. This is a different situation which made you change the insurance concept that we have for cyber risk. New risks are new risks, and they modulate themselves in time, and the only way how to quantify or cover them is to be really close to the market, broker client, and to, let's say, understand the various the variables. And I insist, I repeat, it changes from client to client. We are starting to approach we're getting now into the final round of this table. And now what I'm going to do is now, it should be an analogy to insurers. We put our bullfighting suit on, the bullfighter suit on, and now the key moment arrives in which the accidents, the claim, or the casualty occurs. Is the market providing a good response for the catastrophic risk or the very large risk? It's a very general question, but I leave it here as an introductory question. Well, perhaps in the audience we will have an important opinion about it. Well, we sell casualties, so what we sell, we talk about policies and coverages, but we sell at the end of the day as casualties, and we sell something, the one who buys it, expects that it doesn't happen. So it's a product that you hope that you don't have to use. Nobody likes to suffer casualty. So, at the end, the value of what we offer is when you have precisely that loss or that casualty. So sometimes we are accused, we are a little bit disconnected from the management, from the casualty, from the loss with the contract. We have to, I believe, link the departments better. Obviously, the catastrophic casualty departments, they have to be different teams, different profiles. There's a different dealing. There are different damages, casualties, so etc., etc. This is very complex, and experts have to go there, which inspire confidence and trust to our client, our broker, so that they know the person that is coming and assessing the damage, the loss in this situation, which nobody likes, because when it happens, what generates confidence is I'm in good hands and it's managing in the right directions. And these are moments, critical moments, and very tense moments. It's a fact that sometimes we don't value that sufficiently. The casualty, we open up loss claims or damage claims, hundreds of thousands a year. And as long as it is not a catastrophic one, we have casualties, damages, or losses, routinely hundreds of thousands. There's no bad response. If there's no better response, this is what this is the response from our clients. So it's fundamental. It's not us who have to say if we are doing a good job or not. It's our customers who have to judge us and deposit their trust in us, and that's the way how it is in real life. So, and that response is being given in all spheres, and especially on the international level. We are providing international security and managing such a complex situation in a very complicated country with solutions, perhaps with very few exceptions. We always deliver a good service. Well, the insurance sector, in general terms, has always the will to provide the service when there's a casualty, and without casualties, without loss, or there wouldn't be any business. So for those very specific cases, special specific cases, there is a misinterpretation of the way how the insurance companies want to respond to that event that has taken place. But what I do believe is that in the gray areas, that is where both sides have to reach an agreement. When there's an earthquake, there's no doubt. But there are other type of casualties in which other type of components or elements intervene, and the parties have to collaborate and talk to each other. But I believe there's always a will from the sector, at least in the Spanish insurance sector, to provide the best possible service. Thank you very much. I believe we don't have much time left. However, as I stated, We still have some time to respond to a couple of questions from the audience. There's not much more time left. If there's any question, is there any specific question from the audience side? We will be enchanted to do so. If there's a complaint now, please come. We can speak about it later. Hello, I'm Alvaro Lingotti from MarJGT. Congratulations, Mapfre, and congratulations to bring other companies. This is a business with many stakeholders. I want to ask you a question about an issue which interests many of us, which is the US. How do you believe, as European insurers, how do you look, or what is your appreciation of that market? It's a great challenge. Our clients, our Spanish clients, are investing lots of money. I know it's a very broad question. What is your opinion, your approach on service, etc.? Thank you. Well, who wants to take the floor? Well, for us, the American market, it's a growth market. As we stated, we are developing different business lines, which we didn't have in the past, with different financial lines. From a tax point of view, it's a very complex country. We all know them. We are a European country in that sense, and in the US, we have to focus on the areas in which we want to grow. But for us, right now, it's a growth market. We want to invest money there. We want to continue to commit ourselves to that market. You stated the majority of the Spanish companies are investing in the US as a growth market within their future projects. We accompany our clients in that sense in whichever country they are, and the US is one of those countries. It's not a closed market for us. I believe it's a market, a potential market, and a growth market. Geopolitics plays an important role. What is happening in the US right now with Trump also has an impact of how the future relation might be, even between the United States and the European Union. But we are stable in the US and we are growing. Well, I always interrupt you. Well, for us, the same thing applies. It's a growth market. It's a market in which we will continue to invest. It's a complex market, very regulated market. It seems that the United States is a country, and one believes it's easier, and the whole country speaks English. However, at least from our point, is one of the countries in which we find more difficulties to deal with the bureaucracy, because we are very regulated. Every state has its own regulations, a regulatory framework. It's quite complex. However, it's a country which obviously is growing, and more Spanish companies will be present there, and we will accompany them. You know very well, we accompany our clients into the North American market, and it's a market in which we are providing responses under the premises that we mentioned before, and with a very complex regulatory framework. We have accepted the challenge. We are looking for solutions. We are running an operation in the US. It's not only to provide services to the Spanish client, it's also to provide service to the North American client, and especially on global risk. And obviously, we commit ourselves to the American market, and we will be attentive. I would also like to accept more questions, but we don't have more space. Alvaro hasn't allowed us for more space, but this has been an interesting questions. I would like to close the table, summing or wrapping up some of the conclusions of what we have heard so far. We speak about national programs and the imperious need to comply with all the requirements and of the territories where we issue insurance policy. It has an impact on clients, brokers, on everybody. There's a compliance that has to be complied with. And in order, we have to be able to work well within the regulatory framework, and to also work well with our clients. And so we have spoken also about efficiency. The sector needs to be more efficient, and this obviously that means a continued investment. The market is soft. The interest rates are zero or very low, but there we have to face also the digital challenge, the online service, the big data, and this leads us that we have to apply all our knowledge and to find innovative and efficient solutions as much as possible. And lastly, we have also spoken about the sector solvency, and specifically the Spanish market has responded with an excellent mark or excellent score to the challenges that they have faced. You can see at the solvency ratios, the sector has generated employment. We are creating approximately from 8 to 10 indirect jobs for every single direct one. This should allow us to improve our service, our product offer, and to adapt to this changing environment. Myself, I close the table with that, and I would simply like to underline it has been a real pleasure and luxury to share this table with you, and I hope that the public has enjoyed it as much as we did. And for me, I would like to thank you for your participation. I would also like to thank you, Alfredo and Alvaro. Well, Mapfre, I believe, here we have been 3 different companies. Mapfre has invited 3 different companies. We're in the same sector, and to share knowledge. That's exactly what it's all about. And we want to congratulate you for the initiative. And talking about, do you believe it's an innovation to invite your competitors? I thank you also to Alfredo and to everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.